After the Central Powers lost the Great War, the Entente prevented Austria from joining with Germany, despite Austria voting for the pro-Anschluss parties in early 1919. Versailles carved up Germany, while the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye left Austria as a mere rump state, ripe for radicalization. Throughout the interwar period, Austria cycled between the far-left socialist SDAPO and the far-right corporatist Fatherland Front, before ultimately being annexed by National Socialist Germany on March 12, 1938, completing the Anschluss. In hindsight, the harsh treatment the Germans and Austrians received during the Paris Peace Conference played a factor in the political developments of both nations, which ultimately doomed Europe towards the Second World War. To see if you could do better, I gathered people from my Discord to represent nations and ethnic groups historically present during the Treaty of Saint-Germain. Austria specifically had 3 different players representing the pro-Anschluss parties of the SDAPO and the German national parties, alongside the pro-independence Christian Social Party. This video only covers the fate of Austria after World War I, so check out the previous 2 videos to see what happened to Germany during Versailles. Future episodes will cover Hungary, Bulgaria, and Turkey, so if you'd like to represent a nation, join my Discord server linked below. So, join me, you over 50,000 Germans, and the 90% who have yet to subscribe. Before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I don't know how much longer I can keep making videos at the current rate. Subscribing does help out a lot. You can also support me through Patreon to get the maps, flags, and other stuff from the videos. Thanks. Now, into the opening proposal by the SDAPO.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed representatives to the Treaty of Saint-Germain, the fate of the former Austrian Empire now lies in your hands. I speak before you as a representative of the Social Democratic Party of Austria. Through the actions of the negotiating powers, the many constituents of the Habsburg Empire have been granted self-determination. The Czechs, the Poles, the Hungarians, the South Slavs all now have states. Just as self-determination has been a great triumph for these many people groups, the people of German Austria must be allowed to maintain their self-determination. The people of German Austria seek union with the Republic of Germany by a resounding margin. In the February Constituent Assembly election, roughly 60% of German Austrians voted for parties seeking union with Germany. Only the loud and unrepresentative Christian Social Party, who only received slightly over 1/3 of the popular vote, now seeks a disastrous course of independence. All parties in the National Assembly voted for a law which proclaimed Deutsch-Österreich ist ein Bestandteil der Deutschen Republik. German Austria is a part of the German Republic. German Austria must be allowed to seek union with Germany for the economic survival of our people and as a bulwark against radicalism.
Austrian delegates joining Germany now wouldn't change anything to the situation. Without any industry and resources to fuel your economy, joining them would be only a disaster for your people.
Following the devastation of the Great War, the Christian Social Party of Austria in particular believes that it is necessary for Austria to exist not only as an independent nation, but as a successful part of the international community. The main reason for Austrian independence is because we cannot trust that should Germany annex Austria, that the Austrian position would be secured, that Austrian interests be looked after, especially considering the current situation in Germany. Germany has not only lost the Rhineland, but seemingly finds themselves politically isolated from the rest of the world. What we fear is that German democracy is not stable, especially considering that there are separatist groups not only successful in the Rhineland, but currently moving around in Bavaria. The German economy is in shambles, and they have lost one of the most important industrialized regions, that being the Rhineland. Now Austria, as small as it is going to need assistance in recovering its economy and building its industrial base. And for this reason, we don't trust Germany, not because of anything we hold specifically against the German government, but we do not believe that they can support us. Berlin is currently dealing with everything that they must pay off and the reconstruction of their nation following the war, and without their industrial base, there is very little that they could do in terms of helping Austria actually recover, because they're going to be focusing their economy on everything else, and we have very little to offer them. There's also concerns about the cultural state of Germany, that being that it is dominated majority by Protestant Prussians in the north. And while the Austrian people do very much consider themselves to be Germans, we do fear Prussian domination and that Kulturkampf that was prominent earlier on. We don't want any of that Austrian Catholic identity to be infringed upon.
We would like to offer an independent Austria the chance to join the Intermarium. The Intermarium has a lot of former countries that belong to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Being such, a lot of the trade networks would be rebuilt and survive. Obviously, Austria isn't really known for its large industrial sector, but Czechia is. Germany is not in a stable enough position, both politically and economically, for Austria to join and survive. For the sake of Austria, and for the sake of the Austrians living there, they should not be punished by the sins of the Germans. I vote for an independent Austria.
Through the Anschluss, you are subjugating the Austrian people to an unstable government with a lack of resources and a bad economy. Areas like the Saarland, the Rhine, or Silesia had valuable resources that the Germans need to survive. Unlike Austria, the acquisition of Austria would only cause more instability in Germany.
I think a lot of the points that the previous powers make are like completely moot points. Like they bring up the fact that like Germany they lost some of our resource capabilities and our economic output, but that doesn't mean that like Austria will gain these things if they're independent. It's really the same point. And I also think that the idea that because we like butchered Germany in the other treaties, like the Austrian people actually don't know what they're voting for and they don't know that they want to be part of Germany, even though they voted like a large majority of them for parties who are pro unification. So I think everyone like voting like economic like reasons why they wouldn't want to join, or even like political ones, like them being Catholic, like a large portion of Germany, like in the south, like in Swabia and Bavaria, is Catholic. So really they would just be joining additional Catholic Germans in the German Empire.
We feel moved by the SBO's speech, and America would like to back the unification of Austria and Germany together. We feel this is necessary for many of the reasons that the Austrians themselves laid out. If the British support Anschluss and it passes, then they will have my deferential support in Sevres.
We believe that this is a very good offer from America and would naturally be inclined to support the Anschluss anyway, so as to maintain some semblance of the balance of power by strengthening Germany.
We are against the idea of an Anschluss, but at least we'll support a referendum about the question of the Anschluss and let the Austrian people decide their future. And we expect the American and especially the German to respect their political and diplomatic stance that they showed during the Treaty of Versailles. No annexation for the sake of annexation.
I am opposed to the Anschluss. The whole of Switzerland, we talked about it because we wanted an economical partnership with Austria.
We personally are both interested in the proposals listed by both major powers of Germany and their bloc, and France and the Intermarium. However, we also have a few concerns we'd like to raise. Hungary contains the territory of Burgenland, which has been Germanized throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, and we fear that any form of either Austrian or Greater German state will lay claim to this territory, even though it has been Hungarian for the last millennia. We'd like to hear both the stances of the Austrian delegations and Germany's stance on the matter about what their stance on Burgenland is. For any form of support for any of the delegation's proposals, we'd like a guarantee of Burgenland remaining a part of Hungary.
Burgenland has a lot of Germans, and a lot of Germans that do consider themselves to be Austrian. I'm all in favor for plebiscites voting in the region to whether they want to join Hungary or join the new German Republic.
I think the best thing I can offer Hungary is a plebiscite in the region.
We are absolutely open to supporting Hungary and Burgenland. We think that these are genuine concerns of the Hungarian people, and many of those in this area were supportive of monarchy and the previous Austro-Hungarian Empire, so it's definitely a plan that we will be supporting.
UK, USA, I'm ready to support you on this Anschluss. But I want your support in a larger portion of the Adriatic coast, which would go from Istria down to under the region of Zadar, let's say, containing also the coastal areas around it and all of the islands. I also would like Ragusa became a free city that me and the Yugoslav state had to respect. I will guarantee the independence of the state so that Yugoslavia doesn't attack it. And also I want the Austrian Navy.
As the only admiral at this conference, I think I should be given the Austria-Hungarian fleet, or what's left of it.
Can we discuss the land thing first, then we postpone the fleet?
And so you're saying that you'll only support Anschluss for this?
Mm-hmm. Because you already give me the normal support, so you aren't offering anything otherwise. You need for the Anschluss, which I think is pretty important since Germany has lost every vote so far.
Seeing as this is the only way we can get your support for the Anschluss, the USA will agree to these concessions.
If this is how we buy Italian support later down the line, we can absolutely be supportive of your claims in Illyria.
Okay, Italy supports Anschluss.
I think the U.S. Delegation is a joke. First of all, Ragusa is literally like over 90% Slavic. It has like no Italians in it, so making it a free city literally makes literally no sense, even less than Danzig. And then almost all the land that the U.S. is granting, including cities like Split, are also fully Slavic. The only real major Italian city there is Zara and the stuff in Istria. So again, the US delegation is just shambolic. Just no consistency.
With support from all major powers, excluding France, the Anschluss was completed, though Italy refused to retreat their troops from Tyrol until they received their imperial ambitions in Dalmatia. The Germans were nonetheless jubilant as they had finally caught a break and welcomed their Austrian brothers in with open arms.
Germany would like to welcome the fellow Germans to return to Germany and joining us. This has been great for the balance of power as well as the future of the German Republic. The Austrians will bring I think, an important part of German culture as well as bringing unity to the new German Republic, and we call for all Germans to be returned to the fatherland.
This is an incredible victory for the German people of German Austria. I want to thank the great powers for allowing us to unite with the Republic of Germany. You have saved the Austrian people, and I thank you.
Next up was the equally contentious issue of the Sudetenland, coveted by the now expanding Germans and the Czechoslovaks.
The Czech people fully believe that the Sudetenland must remain in our hands, especially now with the Anschluss of Austria. It is vital for our security that we remain with the Sudetenland.
Arbitrarily drawing borders because you think they're more defensible when the population in that area wants to join Germany, I think is a really poor choice. So I think there should be some kind of vote to vote whether they'd like to remain part of the Czech Republic or whether they'd like to join Germany.
At the very least, there should be a plebiscite to decide whether or not these regions join the new Republic of Germany, to force ethnic Germans to be part of a republic that they have no interest in being a part of. I think is unfair, and it does not recognize the self-determination and the rights of the German-Austrian people.
Germany said that we are arbitrarily drawing borders because they're more defensible. Because it's not like the Sudeten regions have been Czech for 1,000 years and have never been German until they were Germanized under the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Especially with the developments of the Anschluss, the Germans are surrounding us on all sides. Plus, without the Sudets, there's no point in a Czech state, as it will just get crushed or will become a rump state.
We believe that Austria-Hungary as an entity Germanized those areas in the same way that Germany Germanized the Polish lands. I think that if America is going to put its best foot forward, it is going to allow for self-determination in this region. If they are going to, but I mean, why would we? I mean, we didn't allow self-determination in Illyria.
So I'd like to point out that the Czech delegation, the Polish delegation, are making a bold-faced lie. In fact, it was the Bohemian kings during the Holy Roman Empire days that invited the Germans to settle Bohemia because they were artisans and they brought a lot of economic growth to the area. And Prague has been majority German since the 1700s. So the idea that this is a recent Austrian Germanization attempt is a complete lie. And it's been majority German for hundreds of years.
Naturally, on this matter, we would like to see a compromise which all sides can agree to, but that may not be possible in this case.
The territory of the Sudetenland is very similar to the territory of Burgenland. Both territories were indeed Germanized by the Austrians, and there is a clear historical evidence to support these claims. Both the Sudetenland and Burgenland have been a part of their respective kingdoms since before 1000. Both territories have in that time had their respective majorities. As such, the fact that the major powers are supporting the ceding of Sudetenland to the Germans and are leaving the Czechs both defenseless fills the Hungarian delegation with great concern about the security and safety of the Burgenland territories.
To the Austrians and the Germans, you've often spoken a lot about the German people, You can have the German people, just not the land. I'm willing to have a population exchange. You can have the Germans, just not the land.
Germany mentioned about Prague being majority German. I cannot find any proof of that.
The people of the Sudetenland should be allowed to join with the Republic of Germany. However, I do also recognize the position that the new Czechoslovak state is in. I recognize that it is economically a vital region. And so I want to be the bigger person and express, I am willing to make a concession and to partially divide the Sudetenland, as so long as there is some sort of agreement that ensures that the German population, the ethnic German population of the region, be allowed to join the Republic of Germany, should they so choose.
I would like to speak about some of these claims regarding the, mass deportations that Austria just supported. If that were the case, then I guess the majority Slavs living in Croatia should not be deported and should be able to have self-determination over whether or not they join Italy, correct? But that's not happening. We've already set the precedent that borders are going to change and that people aren't going to have rightful self-independence or self-determination. France already determined that partially with the Rhenish Republic in Versailles. So if we're going to do this, we need to do this in the balance of power aspect now that we're not doing ethnic determination. And the simple reality is that the Czechoslovak state cannot survive without the industry and the defenses that are located in the Sudetenland. Given that the current situation on the ground, I, as one of the main leaders of the Intermarium, would like to firmly and fully offer Czechoslovakia membership into the Intermarium if they so wish to join.
We, the Czechoslovak delegation, happily accept Poland's invitation to join the Intermarium. We accept so full-heartedly, and we thank them for the invitation. And we will also split Zaolzie with them as well.
Yeah, so I guess I can just say that my position is similar to the UK's. I would like to see a compromise that has both sides with some satisfaction. I will say that I am inclined to support a plebiscite in the region, but if there is some kind of an equitable split that can be made between the Czechs and the Germans, I would very much be open to supporting that.
France will always support the interest of the Eastern allies, the Intermarium. So we will defend at all costs the territorial integrity of Czechoslovakia.
I understand that both of you wish for this territory to be yours, and I understand that both of you have some form of reasonable claim to this territory. The main territories, which are a part of Austria, will remain Austrian. The southern Sudetenland will go to the Germans, and the northern Sudetenland will remain Czech.
I think that this Hungarian plan is absolutely a good compromise. We will be supporting this.
We could have been inclined to the Hungarian proposal if Austria had remained a independent state, but with the Germans surrounding us on all sides, there's just no way we can give up any part of our territory.
The Czechoslovak proposal ultimately won out, which led to the deportation of over 3 million Sudet Germans from Czechoslovakia, causing the Germans to cry out about the supposed injustice.
I just want to say that the Czechoslovak plan to deport the Germans that they invited to build their country in the last couple hundred years is completely disgusting. I have complete disdain for the Czech Republic and refuse to recognize the border that they think that they have.
These Germans have been there for a long time, and they are being deported, and some that are not, they're being integrated into a Czech state, not a German one. Simply disgusting.
This is just indefensible. It would be one thing. It would be one thing for the region to remain Czech, but to forcibly deport people who have lived there for generations is indefensible.
Germany. Indefensible is when you sign a treaty, a legal treaty I'd like to note, with the Soviets, and with taking all of Eastern Europe. That's indefensible right there. When you send Lenin into Russia, that was indefensible. And you're saying the Czechs getting the Sudetenland? You're saying that's indefensible? Give me a break, Germany. Give me a damn break.
After Russia was done cooking the Germans, Galicia was carved up between Poland, Romania, and the newly formed Galician People's Republic, formerly West Ukraine. See the previous video if you want to see how that ended up happening.
We want to have our state to be great, just like all countries here, but not at the expense of the other people. You can build the state on the ruins of the another one. We seek to respect all other nations around us. Polish people, Romanian people, Hungarians, Magyars, and the Czechs. But we also can't disrespect our own people. We want to have all the people of the Ukraine united under the single flag, under a single banner. Our demands are next. We want to have North Bukovina, part of it, not the entire area, which has significant Ukrainian population, majority might I say. Especially the city of Chernigov, which is a big regional city with hundreds of thousands of people, which are all majority Ukrainian. But we want to have our people, our lands, and we want to have population exchange with which countries which support us. And also, we will be happy to join the Intermarium with Poles to show our peace to them. Lastly, I want to highlight that West Ukrainian Parliament, in start of this year, 1919, in February, we signed a law which is on the education. It's a law on the basis of education, which highlights next points in the constitution. That all national minorities in West Ukraine in the schools are able to study on their home language, on their language. For example, Poles, Jews, which we have a lot, some Germans and Romanians are allowed to study their own language. We are not oppressing them. Even if Ukrainian is the main language, they still can study their language, their culture, and they're not oppressed about it. We have Polish, Jewish, and German schools operating in our country. Few of them, especially Polish gymnasiums, which are not closed and are allowed to work in our state, but they are still a minority.
So I would like to say that Romania claimed all of Bukovina. So the General Council of Bukovina voted for union with Romania on November 28, 1918. So and was historical part of the Kingdom of Moldavia. So I claim all of Bukovina.
It has majority Ukrainian cities, majority Ukrainian population, and it's people of Ukraine. I don't understand why historical claims matter when we need to follow the self-determination. We already had enough wars in Europe. I think there is no need for ruins. I understand your ambitions as a nation, but we need to understand the will of people. The times are changing. It's not 17th century anymore. We're not the kingdoms, we're not empires. We're nation states. The idea of nation state. We want our people to be united. We do not want to disregard it. But Romanians there are a practical minority.
So, but there was a General Council that voted for union with Romania. So it's self-determination.
We want to see compromise, but I just don't understand your position at this moment. You just don't want to give up lands?
No, I say there was a council, and I want to respect the population of Bukovina wanted.
As here you can see the census of 1910, 4 years before war. Not much changed. As you can see, the city of Chernivtsi and the surrounding areas, which are right now under Romanian control, you can see by this river, we can check by it, is under the Romanian control, but it has majority Ukrainian population.
Despite the ethnic basis for Galician claims, the Romanians easily retained all their claimed lands. Talks then shifted to the two diminutive states of the Lemko-Rusin Republic, a pro-Russian Rusin state, and the Komashka Republic, a pro-Ukrainian state. Although Poland and Galicia were allies, this proved to be a tenuous situation as the Galicians were increasingly worried about the irredentist claims of the Poles.
First, I would say that we are not Ukrainians, we are Russians, which President Woodrow Wilson recognized as independent nationality from Ukrainians. And with Czechoslovakia, with Czechoslovakian delegation, we met. We are open talk about our nation joining with them as an autonomous region. But we are willing to negotiate about joining the White Russian Army.
Due to our current entry into the Intermarium, these Rusins will not be incorporated into Czechoslovakia, and that they should instead go to Poland.
Now, regarding the two breakaway republics, and I do call them breakaways, the one on the west, the one that is the Rusins that are trying to join White Russia, I'd like to first extend the White Russians thanks for, again, helping us combat the same enemy, the Soviets. However, I would be hesitant to continue providing troops if they were to recognize it as part of the White Ukrainians. Secondly, to address some other things, the Blue Republic, the Western one that's trying to join Czechoslovakia has already stated that they don't want them. They aren't even allowing Poles to actually declare loyalty to the government of Poland. It is basically a group of 500, not 500,000, not 5,000, 500 individuals in that region, a region that is historically Polish and includes the third largest city in the Lesser Poland region, basically deciding for everybody else in that region just because they feel that they have to impose their will upon everybody else. I say that for that Western Lemko Republic, that it should be a part of Poland, especially considering Czechoslovakia already says they don't want them. Regarding the Eastern Territory is firmly and historically Polish, and I will not back down from that territory. Furthermore, Czechoslovakia has already stated that they wouldn't support that territory, and I am not in favor of the Galician People's Republic having that territory, especially considering my beliefs on territories they may gain in Bukovina during Trianon.
Poland. We've given Poland the city of Minsk. They've got Vilnius in Lithuania. They got Poznan. They got Danzig. They're becoming a quite powerful nation in Eastern Europe, quite frankly. I think that Lemko should be allowed to have independence. Lemko, it's not a big area. It's not that populated.
Do you guarantee our independence if you win the civil war?
Yeah, you will get independence.
That's acceptable.
The Lemko Republic is based on a fake ethnicity. They are just Ukrainians. So I don't see them being independent as a real choice.
In the area that the Lemko are claiming, there's the city of Nowy Sad, which is a very major Polish city, so I think that the Polish should just annex it.
The USA has no problem giving this country their independence. I mean, they're quite small and insignificant. Therefore, I think it's inconsequential whether they're independent or not. Thus, I'm inclined to give them their shot, I guess.
The independence of this Lemko state would just harm the people there, as it would prevent potential investment from the Polish state, which will just make the people poorer. So they should just accept that they should join the Polish state. And as for us, we will join the Galician state, as the people here want it. We are a majority Ukrainian state. We see this as the best compromise, since they both allow Polish and Ukrainian people to live together.
We believe that if we are going to have this territory, that these people are going to be protected. Again, Poland had to sign the Minority Rights Treaty. We are basically as tolerant a society as you can find anywhere in Europe. Regarding Russia's claims, if they're so, wanting an independent Rusian Republic, because there's not a lot of people there, there's in the grand scheme of things, I guess Kazakhstan should be independent, right? Or Uzbekistan, or, the nations in the Caucasus, like Armenia, that want independence. The hypocrisy from Russia is quite astounding here, if they're going to go by that metric. Lemko, I believe, should be mine. Comanche, I am willing to grant you certain trade rights, and I would be willing to invest a certain amount of my percentage of my GDP into helping revitalize that area's industry, if you join me.
I appreciate this proposal, and I would like to ask too for guarantees to not eradicate the Ukrainian language in the region.
The Poles have no issues with the Ukrainians, both in Ukraine proper and in the Galician People's Republic. We have minority rights guarantees, and we believe that anybody can be a Pole, regardless if they are a Polish speaker, or if their primary language is Yiddish or Hebrew, or if they're Ukrainian. We are a pluralistic society that is going to be a bastion of plurality in the East.
Then we shall accept this proposal.
I find Polish claims and Polish words. I do not seek to disrespect them and their delegation. I fully support the Poland because it was just like our nation for a long time under control of other nations. It was oppressed and they lost a lot of their own nation to outside nations like Germany and Russia. But I think the Polish nation might be a bit too irredentist in their claims. We understand they want to have their country strong and they want to have their people back, but at their actions, I think all people and all delegations here can agree that Poles might be a bit too... They want it a bit too much. I ask you to join back into West Ukraine and form the union with us. Your rights will be respected. And I ask Poland again to reconsider their actions on this conference, because they create only more conflict in the EU. We cannot have Europe in conflicts once again. This is what led to World War I, because we created conflicts and had to resolve them.
This is basically just the same deal, but with less investment opportunities.
Poland's promised investments and guarantees of regional autonomy won out over the Galician offer, so the Kamchatka Republic was fully integrated into the rapidly growing Second Polish Republic. Once they were in, Poland thanked the great powers for their assistance.
I would like to thank the great powers for accepting these proposals and for recognizing the Poles in this land and the history of Poles. In addition, now that the Galician claims have been settled, I would like to formally offer the Galician People's Republic, the West Ukrainian state, to be able to join the Intermarium.
Galicia begrudgingly accepted the offer to join the Intermarium, as they had no other options for an alliance. Shifting gears away from Eastern Europe, the Italians stated their claims over Tyrol, which was promised to them in the Treaty of London. However, since the Anschluss was ratified, remnants of the Christian Social Party, which were very strong in Tyrol, declared Tyrolean independence. These developments were ripe for Italy to capitalize upon if they played their cards correctly.
Of course, Trentino and Alto Adige, which would be which you probably know as Südtirol, are part of London, and we Italians wanted the Royal Alps. We needed further funds. But I do have a plan, which is a bit different for North Tyrol, which I do want to propose.
First of all, having this big Germany on my board is a little bit scary, and I was thinking maybe of doing something about it. So I was thinking that maybe North Tyrol could be merged with Liechtenstein, and we could form like a neutral Tyrolean confederation.
So the main point for the Italian expansion here is obviously for their own defense, which I think is entirely fair. And if this proposal is to go through and these people are to join the Principality of Liechtenstein, I think that would be far more fair for the people because they wouldn't be forced to join Germany, so that would make for great alliances. We could stay fairly neutral, and Italy would have a shorter border to share with the German republics.
We agreed on something with Vorarlberg that they would join Liechtenstein, and I'm not opposed to adding Tyrol to that, but I don't want them to be integrated into Switzerland. We would also have an economical partnership with them to help them, boost their economy as a new nation.
Well, this plan is certainly unique, but we would be open to supporting it if it's considered to be a good plan by the rest of the conference.
I, of course, support Italy gaining South Tyrol and Alto Adige as promised to them, but I do think that North Tyrol and Vorarlberg should go to Germany just with the rest of Austria.
But I'd like to point out that this supposed movement for Vorarlberg or Tyrol to join Switzerland or be independent, this was started by Ferdinand Riedmann, who's a member of the Swiss Soldier Soviet Communist Paramilitary Group. And so I don't think this is actually in the interest of the population of the area, as it was founded by a communist movement and is mainly pushed by them.
In this situation, seeing as Germany has had several issues with its neighbors, and that being particularly with the new Czechoslovak Republic over issues of Sudetenland, and that inevitably they're going to come into butt heads with Hungary, I think the people of Tyrol would absolutely be safer being separated from all that European conflict. I think that Germany has claimed quite enough land already. They have expanded quite a significant amount. If the will of the Austrian people was to join Germany, the will of the people of Tyrol is to stand by Liechtenstein. Just because someone has proposed something who is a very radical person does not mean that every idea he proposes is radical. I believe that the people of Tyrol seeking to be independent and to be neutral is by no means a radical idea at all, and is in fact the natural movement for them to protect their own sovereignty and their own culture and people from potential more conflict and devastation.
I would like to add to that Germany is arguing that the idea coming from a communist makes it a bad idea. Didn't you deal with the communist a few years before this treaty? Which would make your point absolutely stupid.
So again, that was a previous government, a previous administration. We don't hold the same position as them, but it was them just making peace while they were at war. But I don't hold the same position as the previous German government.
This movement would not be led by communist leaders, so I don't know what's your point.
In Trentino, we respect the Italian claim stated in the Treaty of London that we recognize and acknowledge since the Treaty of Versailles.
The Germans have previously claimed that the movement in Tyrol is a communist movement. This is completely unfounded and a false claim. They are basing the claim that Tyrol independence is based on communist movements because someone who was a communist proposed that Vorarlberg join Switzerland. However, the movement in Tyrol is not a communist movement. As a matter of fact, we are looking to join Liechtenstein, which is a monarchy, and so attempting to fearmonger on the basis of communism is absolutely ridiculous and preposterous, especially when they were especially responsible for the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia itself.
We're talking about Austrian land, and I think it's only right that an Austrian speak on the matter. Now, I'm fully willing to concede South Tyrol to the Italians as the price for their support for the Anschluss. However, I don't think it's reasonable to foist independence on the Tyrolean and Vorarlberg populations, and by no means is there any clear indication that popular will is strongly in favor of joining Liechtenstein from either party. Now, I will admit, the Christian social parties represent the largest share in both regions. However, I want to be clear, that party supported Austrian independence. It did not support joining Liechtenstein.
I would think that we need to guarantee independence and self-determination for the German people. They need to have some representative to support the southern Germanic languages, since they're very different from the people who speak the German nation in our north. Berlin does not speak the same language as the Dutch, and we are very different, and we don't feel that Tyrol should be under the management of Berlin. And also, we don't think that it is Vienna who gets to control these regions. And as Liechtenstein was always a brother to their western neighbors, I don't think that Tyrol should be ruled by Vienna, since, well, the Tyrolean people are quite fed up with Vienna and Rome, and we want that the people are heard of Tyrol, that they can live in their own region without needing to be subservient to any other power. They are a Alpine brother of ours.
The people, regardless of if they were going to join Switzerland, if they were going to remain independent, or if they were going to join Liechtenstein, do not want to be a part of Austria. They do not want any connection to Austria anymore. Liechtenstein offers a legitimacy to the new government here in Tyrol, because if we were to just become independent as it is, then it's a completely new and unnatural nation just popping out of nowhere. But Liechtenstein offers a government which has existed for a very long time, allowing us to join them, a monarchy which has already been well established in the European community, which has excellent ties to Switzerland, Switzerland being a great economy which could help the area rebuild itself after the war, and also a great partner in neutrality which could protect us from ever having to be involved in foreign conflicts.
We think that this plan is a good way of helping Italy accept the Anschluss, since they will no longer have Germany directly on their border, and will therefore be supporting it.
One final proposal. We should have a plebiscite in South Tyrol.
I think that I second this motion, considering the large amount of Alpine German speakers who are present in the South Tyrol area. There are obviously Italians, and I think that a plebiscite in the area could ensure that the Italians are able to remain with the country, represents their best interests, and the Germans are able to join Liechtenstein with the rest of them.
With Britain spearheading the movement for Greater Liechtenstein, and now the White Russians, who happen to be faring quite well against their red enemies, which will become very important later, Italy's plan sort of backfired, as a plebiscite in Alto Adige/South Tyrol was formed. Unsurprisingly, when offered the choice between Italy or the mainly Germanic Tyrolese state under Liechtenstein, South Tyroleans voted overwhelmingly for a union with Liechtenstein. A new Liechtensteinian constitution was soon ratified, replacing the 1861 document, preventing a future Anschluss with Germany. Italy was not exactly pleased that Liechtenstein now controlled Vorarlberg and all of Tyrol, as they'd hoped to occupy the mountain passes themselves, but this still greatly reduced their border with Germany, so it's not all that bad. The Germans were once again bereft by their treatment, but had no means to prevent the development as Liechtenstein grew here by approximately 173,000%. Now larger than Luxembourg, they were not even a microstate. On top of that, Liechtenstein immediately signed a myriad of treaties with Switzerland for economic and military support, pledging their neutrality to the world. Now, only one area was left up for debate: the highly contentious fate of Illyria, a key promise to Italy in the Treaty of London that brought them into the war, but a region that was almost entirely composed of Slavs. Thus, Serbia, the leaders of the new Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, offered a compromise with Italy, who had banked up support from nearly every major power throughout the previous negotiations.
I want to talk about the border with the Italians. So, as you see, originally they were supposed to get just the Treaty of London, which was a problem for us. However, as we all see, that's kinda impossible right now. But this border, which was proposed, is absolutely crazy. The Italian population there is minuscule. The original London claim at least made some sense, while this makes no sense, especially the Dubrovnik part. There are less than 500 Italians in that area. Now, we wanted to propose that they get the original London claims, including the city of Fiume, which originally was supposed to be ours according to London. They would get that city, as it is majority Italian. However, in return, we would get Šibenik and Knin, with Knin itself being a majority Orthodox Serbian city, and Šibenik being a majority Croatian city. They would still get Zadar and some area around to have a little bit of a stronger border, and all the cities in between Zara and Fiume, the islands, so that they can connect the area well. However, Lika itself, which is a part of Hungary, not Austria, and Šibenik and Knin, which are in Dalmatia, would go to us, like visible in the map above.
It's really hard for me to accept this because it's a lot of lost land.
Is it possible that we get the city of Knin and also a railway connection towards the rest of Dalmatia?
If I am to take my claims down a notch or something, I would like to see a concrete promise of something rather than generally. I want to see something in return.
As Italy effectively stonewalled any negotiations with the Serbs, the other peoples of Yugoslavia jumped in to try and negotiate with the Italians. Italy also learned through back channels that if they failed to come to some arrangement with the Yugoslavs, they would likely declare war upon them as they couldn't stomach such losses. Croatia went first to try and negotiate with the Italians.
We have come here to discuss future of Illyria. I'm here to unite all Croats in this region and stop Italian aggression on my people. I came here to ask, what's the point of liberty if my people will still be occupied? What's the point of 14 points if they will not be followed? What's the point of giving Italians unjust amounts of land? What's the point of arming the region for future conflict, future catastrophe? If Treaty of London happens, I can guarantee peace until all Croats are free. We will not give up this fight.
The Montenegrin delegation has a proposal to both the Italian and Yugoslav governments. We would like to propose the carving of Montenegro along the lines of the River Tara. Everything western of the River Tara will be in Italian protectorate under the crown Petrović-Njegoš dynasty, whose ruler can either be Jelena or Nikola Petrović-Njegoš, while everything eastern of the River Tara will go to Yugoslavia as its land. In return, Italians need to agree on the Yugoslav proposal on carving Dalmatia, and the Yugoslavs need to support the Italian claims in Albania.
I mean, you could have started. This is a way better argument than all the others, to be honest. You offer me something, finally.
Italian, I know what you want. I know what you want. I know you.
Yugoslavia, I might accept this if with this new proposal, because I actually kind of like this, but I do want my two northern bits to be connected, because I just think this other one is indefensible this way. It would be basically useless to have Zara if you can just take it any second, which you can right now, because that would be pretty good.
We can't. You have quite a good defense and naval support, and you're practically connected through all the islands that you get, since there isn't a lot of space in between them. They're very close by, which is why I gave them to you, so that you have a good connection.
I mean, as you know, I'm good to back you, Italy, with whatever you decide, whatever you compromise with Yugoslavia.
The thing is, they're gonna start a war if I don't compromise at all, which... Oof.
Obviously, again, we would prefer to see a compromise which all sides can agree to here. However, if that cannot be reached, we will be supporting Italy. However, a measure that we would like to ask for is that no matter what happens, Yugoslavia would be given the right to use the ports of this region for trade, without trade barriers such as customs or tariffs.
We've supported the Treaty of London, but I'm talking about the parts that are not in the Treaty of London, between Fiume and Zadar, as well as the southern portions. Those portions are not only ethnically fully Croatian and in no part Italian. There is no way that the Yugoslavs won't start a war over this, so it would probably be wise for the European community to not give those lands to Italy and instead either do just Treaty of London or do the thing with the Montenegrin Protectorate.
Of these two possible options, we would definitely prefer to see the Montenegrin Protectorate. However, we have already agreed to support Italy's plans, so our hands are somewhat tied.
I'd be up to leave all the stuff of Šibenik and Knin and south of that. I can agree to that in exchange for this Montenegro Protectorate. I don't know about the rest though. Because this would be trading an equal amount of land for an equal amount of land, I feel like.
I mean, considering the borders of London, I think you might actually even be getting a bit more land. The 1914 border I wouldn't agree on, because that also includes parts that were the seats that have many Serbian monasteries, like Peć, which was the seat of the Serbian Patriarchate for a long time. So that definitely won't be even a question for us.
Yeah, I wanted to hear it, obviously, just clear.
For the 1910 border, we can agree. Could agree potentially that maybe the Montenegrin Protectorate is a bit smaller, but that you keep a bit more land near Zadar. Both an equal exchange, perhaps. And for
if you can show me a drawing of what you mean, I'll be happy.
For the land connection in Lika, that is definitely out of the question, because that wasn't even in the Austrian-controlled areas of Austria-Hungary. That was in the Kingdom of Hungary, and is kind of unreasonable because we lose a huge part of the coast with 100% Croatians and Serbs. So that's too much.
I want to make it clear, we will only support Italy in the matter of the Treaty of London. If they try to push for more, France will not be any more bound to the Treaty of London, as we will see Italy as a brick dealer.
Yes, the 1900 border is like the maximum amount of land that the Italian Protectorate of Montenegro can have. And however, we could do some land exchange and we get more of Montenegro, we get a tiny bit more near Zadar, and basically we still keep about the same thing, just slightly different borders. It follows the mountain peaks there so that we can't cross them, you can't cross them. You have a land bridge, there are roads there, there are cities there that are populated, and you can connect the area, but the original proposal went across, which was a problem.
I guess I would only be losing on one city, basically. So would you agree to this? If I get all those coast land, I get the Montenegro, I get that, I get those islands, and you're supporting Albania.
With this coast, I would agree.
Croatia?
I think that I would rather have peace for now. So I agree on this border. This is actually more reasonable. I also think that it's good that we have port rights. And yeah, Dubrovnik idea is dead, and yeah, long live Yugoslavia.
Okay, I as Montenegro agree on the borders that have been drawn on my land. Okay. But I want from Italians to agree on my proposition about the Petrović-Njegoš dynasty. Just know that yes, we will support Albania fully, but we would like for you to let us, economically cooperate with Intermarium, please.
I'm very happy that a compromise has been found in this matter and will absolutely be supporting this.
War between Italy and Yugoslavia was averted for the time being thanks to the mediation by Great Britain and France, though from Croatia's remarks, a future war appears quite probable. Queen Elena of Italy, a native Montenegrin, was crowned the Queen of Montenegro, with the Montenegrin title only passing to her son Umberto upon her death, skipping King Victor Emmanuel III completely. With the negotiations drawing to a close, Slovenes decided to use the sympathy many felt for the Yugoslavs through their harsh losses to the Italians and push for claims on Carinthian lands in Austria, where some Slovenes lived.
I don't want to mess with the Italian border. I just want to mess a little tiny bit with the Italian border with Klagenfurt and the city south of it. It's a majority Yugoslav Slovenian territory, and I think with all logic, with what we gave up, it's a little bit for us. It's for fair. We gave up a lot of our coast. We just want some Slovenian cities up north, and it won't attack any majority Austrian or German, whatever happens there. It's the only fair thing to do, considering we gave up like a lot of Croatian territory.
I guess I just wanted to say that this area is like majority German by a large portion. Like, he has no ethnic claim to the land, and so I don't think he should be entertained. Like, this is part of Austria, like, and a core part of Germany. So I don't think it should go to the Yugoslavs. So.
I don't know why Germany said it's majority German, because yes, Klagenfurt is majority German, but the area south of it and Bleiburg have a lot of Slovenes, so I think just a plebiscite is very fair.
The area we claim has Germans, yes. The city of Klagenfurt itself is majority German. The rest isn't. The rest is Slovene. So we would be fine with the city of Klagenfurt going to Germany. But the rest of the areas, mostly south and some east, going to us.
Unsurprisingly, the anti-German sentiment won out once more, with all the Slovenian claims in Carinthia getting annexed by Yugoslavia without even so much as a plebiscite. With that, the Treaty of Saint-Germain was concluded, leaving Europe in a radically different position than it historically was. Despite achieving their goal of uniting with Germany, the Austrians were arguably treated harsher here than they historically were. Comment below who you think the biggest winners and losers from the treaty were. Next up is the Treaty of Trianon, with Hungary's fate hanging in the balance as Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Yugoslavia will eagerly press their claims. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to check out If the Kaiser Stayed in Power After World War I. I know you'll like it. If you enjoyed my work, please like, subscribe, and consider supporting me on Patreon to get access to the maps, flags, and more. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Goodbye.